Yo, what is up, guys? Delboy here, aka Blue Collar Sports TV. Hopefully, you guys are doing well. If you're new here, smash that like, hit subscribe, all of that good stuff. Essentially, this video is a quick rundown of the boxing schedule in May, and May so far this year is the best month for boxing. Some great fights coming up, some underrated fights, and essentially what I'll do, I'll take you through these fights and give you my brief thoughts on each one. But we start on Saturday the 1st of May in the UK at the Manchester Arena, a card headlined by Derek Chisora and Joseph Parker. Now for me personally, first and foremost, this card is actually being televised by Sky Box Office in the UK and DAZN in the USA. But me personally, I like the main event, but I don't think this card is strong enough really to be on pay-per-view. I like the main event, but I think this main event needs a really strong competitive undercard, and quite frankly, I don't really believe it's got that. But nevertheless, I am looking forward to the main event. I see Joseph Parker versus Derek Chisora as a bit of a crossroads fight. Ultimately, if Joseph Parker wants to fight for a heavyweight title again, he's got to be beating the likes of Derek Chisora. And if Derek Chisora wants to continue to be in these big fights, he needs to win one eventually. He needs to beat Joseph Parker to continue to get these sort of big opportunities. And ultimately, I see it as a competitive fight. I lean towards Joseph Parker. Naturally, he's the more talented boxer. He's more technically sound, quicker hands, quicker feet, better boxing IQ. But the thing with Joseph Parker that makes it hard to predict with his fights is, his fighting instinct. It's not quite there. It's not quite where it should be, to be honest. So, I make Joseph Parker a favourite, but I'm not all that sold on that pick. But all in all, I expect Derek Chisora versus Joseph Parker to be a competitive fight, and I am somewhat looking forward to it. It could be a snooze fest. Chisora has been in his fair share of snooze fests, as has Joseph Parker. But I've got a feeling this fight will actually open up at some point and be quite entertaining. So I'm looking forward to the main event. Also on the undercard, you've got the return of WBA light heavyweight champion Dimitri Bivol. I think Dimitri Bivol is one of the most talented fighters in the sport of boxing. He's a lovely technical boxer, brilliant footwork, great foot speed, does all of the basics really well, defensively sound. Bivol is just a great technical boxer. He makes boxing look easy. He's one of those sort of guys when you see him fight. And for me, he's one of the best technicians in the sport of boxing right now. He's fighting Craig Richards, who is the British light heavyweight champion. I see this fight as a mismatch, quite frankly. I am looking forward to seeing Dimitri Bivol fight again. He is one of my favourites, but I don't really see Craig Richards giving him many problems whatsoever. Craig Richards is a good domestic fighter. He's got a little bit of power, but he's not close to world level in the light heavyweight division. So basically this is a comeback fight, a tune-up fight for Dimitri Bivol. Nothing more, nothing less. Also on the undercard, you've got James Tennyson versus Giovanni Straffon. James Tennyson, big puncher at lightweight. He's vulnerable himself, not got a great chin. He's always in fun fights. And Giovanni Straffon is a Mexican fighter who's got a decent knockout ratio. I've never seen this guy fight, so quite frankly, I'm not really sure what to expect from this fight. It could be a barn burner. It could be a blowout. But I'll definitely keep my eye on this fight. You've also got Katie Taylor versus Natasha Jonas for you female boxing fans out there. I'm not the biggest female boxing fan in the world, as you guys know, so that doesn't really interest me. You've got the return of Chris Eubank Jr. He's fighting Marcus Morrison. That in itself is a big mismatch. I think Marcus Morrison is going to get taken out in that fight relatively early. Chris Eubank Jr. is just levels above Marcus Morrison. To put it in perspective, Marcus Morrison, he's been losing to the likes of Alistair Warren, who's a journeyman, the one and only Tyen Booth. Marcus Morrison is he's a tough kid and whatnot, but Eubank Jr. is going to smoke this guy. So, again, a comeback fight, a tune-up fight, but on pay-per-view, surely we expect a lot better than this. You've also got Campbell Hatton having his second pro fight if you're interested, and the return of Scott Fitzgerald, so there's that to look forward to as well. But all in all, there's a few things to look forward to there, mainly the main event, in all honesty. And when we go over to America, another questionable pay-per-view, Andy Ruiz Jr. versus Chris Arreola. Again, I don't have to pay for this one, being in the UK, but I feel sorry for you guys in the US that this is behind a paywall, but I am looking forward to seeing how Andy Ruiz looks on his return. He's not fought since December 2019, when he lost against Joshua on points. Since then, he's linked up with Eddie Reynoso, and it appears that he's taking it seriously, appears to have lost a little bit of weight, and I want to see Andy Ruiz really dedicate himself to the sport, to truly see how good this guy is. Hopefully now that is the case. I am intrigued to see how he looks in this fight, but I think he'll take care of Arreola in pretty decisive fashion. I would say a mid-round stoppage, but we shall see. Areola's a tough guy, but he's seen better days at this point, you know, well past his best, 38, 39 years old, been on the end of a few beatings, so I expect Andy to win this fight comfortably. You've got Sebastian Fundora, the 6'6", 6'7" super welterweight prospect. He's fighting Jorge Cota. Decent little test for Sebastian Fundora, but I expect him to come through that fight. You've got Erislandy Lara moving up to middleweight. He's fighting Thomas Lamana for the vacant WBA middleweight title. That's basically the regular title. Again, I like Lara, very good fighter, but his opponent, Thomas Lamana, no idea how this guy's fighting for a world title, quite frankly. He's ranked like 116 on BoxRec, so I've seen Lamana fight a few times. He's basically a club level fighter in the US. That's a mismatch. You've got Eduardo Ramirez versus Isaac Avalar. That should be a relatively competitive fight. I've seen both guys fight, they both come to bring it. You've got Omar Figueroa Jr. versus Abel Ramos. I think this is the best fight on the card, to be honest. Both of these guys are relatively evenly matched. Both guys are very aggressive, so I expect this fight to be a bit of a war. I'm not really backing anybody in this fight. Quite frankly, I see it as like a 50-50. And you've got some more stuff on the undercard. You've got Adrian Granados, he's fighting. Carlos Negron, he's fighting as well. But the card itself isn't, you know, particularly strong for a pay-per-view. And I believe that is pretty much it for the 1st of May. It is indeed. Now let's move on to the 7th of May. And we go to Russia. Now this fight right here, man. This fight right here. Magomed Korbanov versus Liam Smith at super welterweight. This could be an absolute war. Liam Smith is a very tough guy, good inside fighter, he comes to bring it, always in fun fights. Magomed Korbanov, this is a big step up for him, he's 21-0, not for anybody on the level of Liam Smith. I expect him to get severely tested in this fight. In fact, I actually back Liam Smith to win this fight. I'm not confident in that pick. Basically, it's a 50-50, but I'm leaning towards Liam Smith to win this one. Korbanov is a real good mid-range fighter. Nice, powerful hooks, particularly with that left hook. You know, he's a nice, accurate puncher, and he can definitely hurt you if you're slipping, but I don't think he's the greatest inside fighter in the world. And I think Liam Smith can definitely expose that in this fight. But this fight right here, Liam Smith and Magomed Korbanov, is going to be a barn burner. So you guys definitely need to watch this fight. Real good fight. On Saturday the 8th of May, we have... I forget what's on this date. Oh no, I don't. What am I talking about? We have Canelo Alvarez versus Billy Joe Saunders. This fight's on DAZN in the US and the UK. Unification fight, 3 belts on the line. You know, should be a pretty good fight, to be honest. I've actually done a full prediction video for this fight, so you can find that on my channel where I go into detail on what both guys should do and who I believe is going to win. But Canelo Alvarez versus Billy Joe Saunders, good fight. I favour Canelo to win this fight on points, but who knows, man, maybe Billy Joe can pull off the upset and become a unified champion. We shall see. But yeah, this fight takes place at the AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas, and there will be fans in attendance, which is always a good thing. And on the undercard, there's a few things to look out for. It's not on BoxRec, but one fight in particular that needs to be looked out for is Kieran Conway versus Solomon Sissoko. I think that could be a bit of a war, so watch out for that fight on the undercard. Apologies for that. And we now go to May the 15th. May the 15th, we actually have a card in the UK, Manchester Arena, DAZN in the USA, Sky in the UK. This card is a domestic card. Lerone Richards is fighting for the European Super Middleweight Championship. He's fighting Giovanni De Carolis, a very experienced guy, aggressive, been there, been around, very experienced. A good test for him. I think De Carolis has seen better days, but I definitely think he'll give Lerone Richards some rounds and maybe some problems, but I favour Lerone Richards on points. You've got Tommy McCarthy, the European Cruiserweight Champion. He's fighting Alexandru Jur. I've never heard of this guy, so not really sure what to expect there. You've got Gamal Yafai versus Jason Cunningham. That is for the European Super Bantamweight title. Jason Cunningham's he's a tough guy, but I think Gamal Yafai is a bit too fresh, a bit too quick, and a bit too powerful for Jason Cunningham. You've got Dalton Smith against Lee Appleyard. Good little test for Dalton Smith. Dalton Smith is a good prospect at super lightweight, hits hard, entertaining style, but I would imagine Dalton Smith comes through that fight. If you're a female boxing fan, you've got Terry Harper versus Hun Mi Choi. Again, I'm not a fan of female boxing, so I'll leave that. And the card is actually headlined by Joshua Buatsi, but he's fighting TBA. Hopefully it's an opponent of consequence. I wouldn't mind seeing Buatsi fight someone like Isaac Chilemba, for example. I think that would be a good test. Also on the 15th of May in the USA at the Dignity Health Sports Park in Carson, California, you've got Brandon Figueroa versus Luis Nery. Very good fight, man. Very good fight. I lean towards Luis Nery being a bit too busy, a bit too big, a bit too strong for Figueroa, but that's a very competitive fight. I wouldn't be shocked whatsoever if Figueroa pulled that fight off, to be honest, but I lean towards Luis Nery. Luis Nery's not been looking as good in recent years, but I think he'll pull it out in this fight. I think it'll go the distance. I think it's going to be a bit of a war, and it's definitely a fight that you guys need to check out. A good fight on Showtime right there between Brandon Figueroa and Luis Nery. And that is it for the 15th of May. On Friday the 21st, we have a great fight in Russia. Now, I believe this fight is actually at Bridgerweight, but you've got Dmitry Kudryashov versus Evgeny Romanov. Evgeny Romanov was a heavyweight prospect, got to 15-0. Looks like now he's moving down to Bridgerweight. And Dmitry Kudryashov is one of the most entertaining glass cannons in the sport of boxing. The guy has ridiculous power, but basically like a real poor chin. So he's basically kill or be killed in his style. And Evgeny Romanov is a very aggressive fighter, and he hits hard himself. So somebody's getting knocked out in this fight. I think it will be Kudryashov, but this fight basically is a coin toss. It's like Russian roulette. Maybe it's who lands first, but should be a real good fight, this one. Dmitry Kudryashov versus Evgeny Romanov. Real good fight, man. You guys definitely need to check out for that one. And that's it for the 15th of May. The 21st of May. We now go to the 22nd of May, and we go to England. We have Sam Eggington versus Carlos Molina. Not a great fight, but I thought I'd mention it. It's on Channel 5. Sam Eggington is usually pretty good value for money, quite entertaining. So if you're doing nothing better, it might be worth a watch. Sam Eggington versus Carlos Molina. Do we have anything else on this date? Of course we do. 22nd of May, in my opinion, the best fight of this month. Josh Taylor versus Jose Ramirez. Undisputed title fight at £140. Both guys unbeaten. Both guys extremely entertaining. Both guys have got, got some real good wins now. Everything's on the line. Great fight, man. This fight, I can't see this fight failing to deliver in terms of entertainment. I lean towards Josh Taylor. I've not made my official prediction video yet, but I lean towards Josh Taylor. But I think both guys have a legitimate chance. I think it's going to be a war. And credit to both guys for putting it all on the line. You know, these guys have built good resumes, and now they've reached the pinnacle. Who is the king at 140? We shall see on the 22nd of May. On the undercard, you've got the return of Jose Zepeda, who's a real good fighter at that super lightweight division. Not sure who he's fighting yet. And you've got you've got Elvis Rodriguez fighting on the card as well, who's a pretty good prospect in the super lightweight division. So that's shaping up to be a great event by Top Rank. But that main event, man, is something special, quite frankly. The best fight of the year so far, in my opinion. That's been official. And that is it for the 22nd of May. We now move to the 28th of May. We've got the return of Carlos Canizales, super WBA light flyweight champion, real good fighter, big puncher. He can box, he can trade, he can counter punch. He's one of those guys who can pretty much do everything in the ring. Carlos Canizales, and he's fighting Esteban Bermudez Salas. I've never seen this guy fight before. I would imagine Carlos Canizales takes care of him quite easily, but I might be wrong, but I'll definitely be checking that out. And that is basically it for the 28th of May. And finally, on the 29th of May, we have first and foremost, on Showtime in the USA at the Dignity Health Sports Park in Carson, California, you've got a great fight right here between Nordine Oubaali and Nonito Donaire. Excellent fight. Hard fight to call though. Obviously Nordine Oubaali is the WBC champion. He's younger, he's fresher, he's unbeaten, and he is a good fighter in his own right, a good champion. A very awkward guy. He can box, he can brawl, he can apply pressure, he hits relatively hard. Oubaali's a good fighter. Nonito Donaire, certified Hall of Famer, multi-weight world champion, tremendous puncher, great timing, but he is 38 years old. At this stage, the wheels could fall off at any point, but what I will say is this. If it's the same Donaire from the Inoue fight, he's got a great chance of knocking Nordine Oubaali out. Oubaali takes a lot of risks. He kind of flies in at times, a little like Sean Porter, and if he walks into one of those left hooks, it could be night-night. This is a great fight, and thoroughly looking forward to it. You guys need to check out this fight, and the card itself is actually developing quite nicely. This right here, Subriel Matias versus Batrizian Junkambayev. This fight right here could be the fight of the month in terms of pure violence and entertainment. It could be a fight of the year contender. Both guys are punchers. Both guys are exceptionally aggressive. Both guys put it all on the line. Both guys can be hit. This is going to be a war. Subriel Matias is a seek and destroy type fighter, as is Junkambayev. This is an IBF eliminator. Tremendous fight. This is violence. If you want blood and guts, this is your fight. Subriel Matias versus Junkambayev. Great fight. And in Las Vegas, you have a card on DAZN as well. Devin Haney versus Jorge Linares. Good fight, good step up for Devin Haney. I favour Devin Haney, but who knows, maybe we get some questions asked in this fight of Devin Haney, in regards to his chin, etc, etc. It's a good test for Devin Haney. I make him a favourite, I am backing him, but definitely a good little fight. And on the undercard, you actually have Martin J. Ward versus Azinga Fusile. I think this could be some sort of final eliminator with the IBF. I'm not entirely sure, but this is a really good fight. Martin J. Ward has done well at domestic level. He's been European champion. And Azinga Fusile actually gave Rakhimov a real hard fight a year or so ago. in an eliminator, so this is going to be a real good fight. Martin J. Ward versus Azinga Fusile. Real good fight, man. Going under the radar, but check it out. And on the undercard, you got a few prospects like Darren Cunningham, Reshat Mati. You got a female world title fight as well if you're interested. But all in all, a pretty decent card from the Zone. And yeah, that is my May boxing rundown, a rundown of the schedule. What are you looking forward to most? Share your thoughts below. It's been your guy Del Boy.